Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. Good morning to you all. Tea on the go. Nice mug of tea. Always the best way to start the day. I'll say one thing, I do make a good cup of tea. Anyway, I wanted to give a few thoughts about the whole attitude towards, Daniel Kinahan, MTK, Pro Bellum and all that sort of thing. Because as you now know, you probably know, MTK has ceased doing business. It can't handle with the sanction of Kinehan. They're claiming, well, Kinehan hasn't had anything to do with us since 2017. It's so unfair, but we got to shut up shop because all the major promoters are saying they're not going to work with us. Okay. But the attitudes towards MTK, Kinehan, the open secret that Kinehan was leader of a big, organised crime setup, I always found it fascinating. I always found that element of self-denial really quite intriguing for years now, to be honest with you. And I'd just like to share a few thoughts with you, see what you think. Now, it stands to reason that a lot of boxers were going to turn a blind eye because they were treated impeccably, they were paid well, they were given opportunities that they previously wouldn't have had. But I'm really talking about people who didn't have any insight into what was going on. They kind of knew because it was an open secret about Kinehan, but at the same time, they were like, it doesn't matter. Oh, well, they kind of rationalised it, totally rationalised it in their mind. And it seems kind of intriguing to me because, just to give you a little bit of, bear with me, I'm going to go on a little preamble, a little personal preamble here, but there's a reason for me doing this. Like, I come from a very working class background. I was born in the 1960s. My mum was an unmarried mother at the time. That held a great stigma. I moved around an awful lot. I lived with my grandparents when I was very young. I lived in North London, which is where I'm from. I lived in South London. We got a council estate flat there, so we moved to the south. I moved around. And when you're in that sort of, don't get me wrong, I'm not, there was always a shirt on my back. There was always food in my mouth. There was always a roof over my head. I'm not here for sympathy. That's not the point of this. I'm saying that if you're from that background, when you get a little older, criminal activity can become very attractive and you can be sort of drawn towards it. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I was ever Snow White, but at the same time, I never did anything really serious. And the things that I did do that weren't necessarily that legal, I never got nicked, I never got a criminal record or anything. And I didn't want the hassle. I was always kind of quite an introvert guy. Although I was, at one point in my life, for quite a while actually, probably from teenage years onwards, I was a bit, what's the word? Not violent, well, is the violent the word? I don't know, but I had my issues, let's put it that way. Now, I'm saying all this because, like I say, if you're from that sort of background, criminal activity can be attractive to you. Because you think, money, you see older fellas walking around in nice clothes and a bit of money in their pocket, a bit of jewellery, whatever. I never went down that path, but I can understand, I know people that did, and I can understand why it would be attractive, okay, to people. So you get a lot of working class kids, and you see it now with drugs, especially like the county lines thing that goes on with the drug dealing, young kids who haven't had any guidance. I mean, I had guidance. I was very close to my grandparents. My mum was a good mother and all that. Didn't know my father at all. He was long gone, but so I had the good influence. But if you don't, then I can understand why people would go down that pathway. So when it comes to someone like Kinehan, they will turn a blind eye, willingly so. They won't care. They've got no real moral compass, maybe, or perhaps they have got a moral compass, but they kind of bury their head in the sand, Now, what is interesting though, and has been interesting for some years, is that an awful lot of people who are not from that background, who are working class, not working class, but middle class people, they too have been aligning themselves with Kinehan, not with Kinehan, but with the MTK logo, supporting MTK, everything that goes on within it. And that, I think, we can put down to, well, for want of a better phrase, the sort of romance of criminality. if you're from this rather middle class background and you align yourself, or you happen to know someone who's a bit of a naughty boy, there's something romantic in that. It kind of rubs off, or you think it rubs off, and it doesn't, of course. But you look at me, I'm hanging out with my gangster mates, and especially now, I see it with the young people today. It's kind of embarrassing to me, but then I'm an old sod. But at the time, it seems very romantic, even though you are from a very wealthy, privileged, affluent background. It's almost like that's something to be ashamed of. No, I want to dumb down. I want to, hang with the bad boys. And you see this with a lot of women as well. Oh, I like a bad boy, until he starts smashing you up and abusing you. And then suddenly those boring nice guys, they suddenly take on a new appeal. But this was definitely prevalent. I mean, right up to, promoters, journalists, certainly, they loved MTK. Yeah, it's doing boxing good. Yeah, but where's the money coming from? Oh, no, I don't know about that. We'll ignore that. We'll ignore that. And to some degree, that's continued, because the comments the videos I've made about this subject, the comments that have been left, and the messages I've got via the comment section on the videos, but also through my Facebook group and everything, my Facebook page anyway. A lot of them are, well, what are we having to go at MTK for? Well, the governments are just as bad, and shut the fuck up, will you? Just shut the fuck up. I know that you think you've got this in your head that, being a drug dealer, being the head of some sort of international narco operation is romantic, but it fucking isn't. Crime isn't. I'm on the criminal justice side of the drug and alcohol thing. That's what I do for a living now. It never ends well. There's I deal with the same old faces coming out of prison, and almost all of it's drug related, either as addicts or petty dealers or whatever. I've never dealt with a Kinehan type, but it's not good, and violence. You'll end up in prison. You end up dead. The one thing about boxing is that it saves people. It absolutely does. That's one of the reasons I love boxing. It saves, especially working class kids. It gives them discipline. It gives them structure. It enables them to have a purpose in life. It gives them, and I know this sounds very sort of soppy, but it gives them a lot of love. It's like a brotherhood or a sisterhood now. Women are involved in it, which is good, but it's like, you get support from people, and suddenly those things that you never even knew existed for you, they're there for you. And suddenly your self-esteem is going through the roof, and you've got a life, a real life, not a fake life, not a life based on criminality, but a life where you are in control of it, and you are your own man or woman. And that's a good thing. Now, that is the polar opposite of being involved in the drug trade. Certainly the polar opposite of being involved with taking drugs. I mean, fucking hell. So, the whole thing about making excuses and rationalising the whole Kinehan cartel, to me, even though people have said MTK is great for boxers, and all the boxers have said that, in its essence, it is anti-boxing, because it does the polar opposite of what boxing does for people. Okay? And I can't really phrase it better than that. That's my view. Yeah. To me, if you're from, I was never from the ghetto. I was from a London housing estate, but it weren't pleasant, but it wasn't a ghetto. But most people from that background want to get out of it. They don't want to glorify in it. Very often the people glorifying it are the people who are not from there, who just want to appear to be tough guys. And that's kind of childish. That kind of belongs in the fucking playground. Leave it in the playground. Mature. Use your brain. Brain is a wonderful thing. Don't get out of your head. Get into it. You understand? That would be my advice for today. Just a few thoughts on the whole thing, because I do find it, I have found it for years, very, very telling that a huge blind eye has been taken to the whole Kinehan setup. I've got to be honest, I was a little surprised at how quickly MTK shut up shop, but Pro Bellum will probably go the same way. I know that their card has been taken off Eurosport and is now on their website, the Friday card. And you know what? They did produce some good shows, MTK and Pro Bellum. They definitely did, but there's bigger things in life than boxing. As much as we love boxing, there's bigger things in life. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below, your comments below. Always interested to hear from what you think. You may disagree with me. If so, tell me why. Try and turn my mind. I'm open-minded. I'll listen to you. Thanks for your time, as always. If you're new to the channel, give the button a little nudge. Subscribe. Hit like. Share the video if you liked it. And we will speak again sometime. Take care of yourselves, as always.